How's it going? Welcome back to another tutorial video. In this tutorial video, I'll be showing you guys how to make a full working Cv2 sword with a health system. This tutorial does require you to have a little bit of experience with circuits. So with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so for this system, I pre-made all of the circuits for you guys. So I will explain how it works and you guys can follow along and connect it with me. However, if you want to take a moment and copy all of these circuits, you can go ahead and do so right now. You can go ahead and pause the screen and resume whenever you're ready. So I added a player property to track the player that was hit by the sword. So make sure you guys add that. So if you're wondering what this little purple hitboxing is, it is a collision detection volume. What I did is I just built it over the whole sword, except for the handle. And then I deleted all the other circuits that I didn't need on the circuit board. So your circuit board might not look exactly like mine, but it's okay. Now, whenever the player gets hit by the sword, it has an option to impulse the player back whenever they're hit. Me personally, I'm going to set this to false because I don't really want a player to get knocked back whenever they're hit by a sword. However, if you guys want impulse, go ahead and add it by setting it true, of course. Underneath our on player hit, we have our collision data. We're going to connect that to the target of the collision data get player, and the player is going to the input of our hit player event sender. By the way, this event sender is set to trigger for everyone. So make sure whenever you configure your event sender, you click the target to go for everyone. Now on the on player hit is going to connect to the input of the event sender. If you configure your collision detection volume and scroll down, there's an option that you can run only for authority. You see, when a player goes into the collision detection volume, it executes the on player hit. However, this isn't local and it's running for everybody. So let's say there's 5 people in the room. If one player goes into the collision detection volume, it triggers 5 times because it's running for everyone. To fix that, we're going to turn on run only for authority. The authority is pretty much the instance master of a server. It is the player with the best FPS. And so if we have it run off of authority, it will only be running off of one person, which means it'll only execute one time. Now I want to make sure when I pick up my sword, it has the hitbox on it, or the collision detection volume on it. So I'm going to connect the bottom of my clamp to the handle of my sword. You want to connect that to your collision detection volume. So now whenever you pick up your sword, your collision detection volume will also be connected with it. Now we're back over to all of the circuits you saw at the beginning of the video. We're going to connect the event receiver to the input on our if player is valid and local. And the player on our event receiver is also going to go to the player here. What this essentially is doing is that since this event receiver is running for everyone, we want it to only run for the person that got hit, which is why we're using a if player is valid and local. And now we're going to connect the is valid and local output to the input of our health variable. This is a int variable. I just renamed it to health. Make sure it's not synced, by the way. You want to make sure it's unsynced. The difference on our subtract is going to the input on our health, and the output of our health is going to the first value on our subtract. Now see, this bottom value subtracts how much health you want the player to lose. So I'm going to set this value to 10 so that the player loses 10 health whenever he gets hit by a sword, just like that. Now once we subtract the health, we want to execute this if, and this if is going to be connected to a lesser equal, and the top value on our lesser equal will be connected to the output of our health. Now what this is doing is that it's checking if a player has lost all their health. If their health is less than 0, then it will execute the then. If they still have more health, it will execute the else. I'm going to show you how to configure your game HUD element. Once you configure your game HUD element and scroll down a little bit, you can see your HUD element and your element label. And right beneath that, you can see the color. I'm going to set the HUD element to primary and set the color to green. This if is checking if a player has less or equal to 0 health. So if a player has more than 0 health, it's going to execute this else. So the else is going to connect to the set HUD element value. The target is the game HUD element, and the value is going to go to our output on our health. The element value output is going to connect to the element enabled input. Make sure you click this enabled to true. And then the target is also going to go to the game HUD element. So you can see on the bottom of your screen, there's a green little bar. That bar is this game HUD element. And so we're setting the value of that bar to how much health you have. So every time you lose health, your bar will decrease. We're also making sure your HUD element enables on initial contact with the sword. So on our if we have less or equal to 0 health, the then is going to execute. So the then executes, we want to give the player his health back. So I have the same health variable up here, but it's just setting your health back to 100. And then once it gives you 100 health, it will set your transform, which is basically just setting your position and rotation. And then we're going to make sure the value changes on your HUD element. The position and rotation on our set transform will be connected to the get position and get rotation beneath it. And both of the targets will go to the vector component. The target on your set transform will be connected to the player on your event receiver. The target on your set HUD element value will be connected to your HUD element down here, and the value will be connected to your health variable. Just like that. Alright, I joined on my alt account to test this out. So you can see, I'm going to grab my sword, and I'm going to hit you guys with it. Now what I want you to watch is that whenever I hit you with this sword, your HUD element will appear on the bottom of your screen, and it will start decreasing every single time I hit you. As you guys can see on the bottom of your screen, you have your health bar, and you can see that you're losing health. Now I'm going to keep hitting you guys until you're about to die. So, you can see one more hit and you're going to be dead. So once I do kill you all the way, your health will reset back to 100 and it will teleport you to wherever the vector component was. Ooh. So as you can see, when you guys died, you got teleported to this vector component. You can set this vector component to wherever you want. Just know that every time a player dies, they will spawn right here. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to like and subscribe. And also comment down some other tutorials you guys want to see. I mean, I'm kind of running out of ideas. I honestly don't know what to make anymore. If you guys want me to make something and teach you how, go ahead and comment below. But I hope you guys learned something today. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.